Future Nathan here. Before the episode starts, I just want to acknowledge that since we recorded this episode, Blackmagic Design has in fact come out with a 6K cube camera called the Pixis. So it does exist. It's out there. Just want to make that correction on the episode. Enjoy.
Hi, welcome to the SLAB. We're Nathan and Angie, and we are here to talk about all things videography. You can view the video version of this podcast on youtube.com/@slabvisuals, or of course, listen on your favorite podcast platform app. And today we're going to talk about what?
We're going to talk about the reasons why I use Blackmagic cameras, design cameras, and software, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So this isn't an ad or any kind of sponsored content.
We're making no money.
No, not from this anyway. But yeah, so I wanted to, so our podcast is for, you know, filmmakers who are up and coming or looking at getting started in filmmaking.
Yep.
And I thought it'd be helpful just to talk about, you know, kind of some of my reasons why I use Blackmagic Design cameras and software.
With all the choices that are out there, why this one?
Exactly. Yeah, and just kind of give you my reasoning, and I don't know if you call it a rubric, but, you know, nothing that fancy. But yeah, the reasons behind it. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And, you know, I'm not the videographer, Nathan is, but I really align with him in this of like the first reason that we align with the Blackmagic camera and their company really is because the ethos of the company. There's a lot of places that you could go for really good quality, but like the way that they do business and how they support is really important. You want to talk about a little bit of your experience and what we're talking about?
For sure. So, you know, when there's several cameras out there at, you know, that they would call cinema cameras, you know, around this price point, that would get the job done. And ultimately it comes down to what's the best tool for the job, right? Sure. But, you know, beyond that, you know, you kind of have to look at the ethos of the company and, you know, the product, because, you know, ultimately it will have an effect down the line for you. So, you know, specifically for me, one of the things is customer service. So, you know, Blackmagic Design specifically, I've seen over the years where they really listen to what their customers need. And like, even when you go to register any of their software, it's amazing when you do an update or any of their software, like we're going to talk about here in a minute, the DaVinci Resolve and how it's free, but they have a box where you put in your information, and one of the columns is what would you like to see in the software? What would make the software better? In every single download on their website. And that, to me, that like right there, I mean, that...
Are they responsive to it too? I mean, because that's the biggest thing is like, you can always put that out there as an organization, but like, that doesn't necessarily mean you're listening.
No, they're constantly updating stuff. And, you know, and when they do their launches, it's kind of funny because, you know, all the bigger brands have, you know, leaks on Twitter or now X, whatever, but they have leaks, you know, weeks before like what they're going to do or change in their software. But like Blackmagic Design is like, oh yeah, we're going to have an announcement next week. And then it's, you know, I think his name is Grant, the guy, it's an Australian company. So he comes on and, it just comes out and says, oh yeah, we're doing this, and it's usually something
just transparent, not a big marketing ploy kind of thing.
Yeah. And, so I love that about them. So I think that's a really, a great thing. Another example, is, you know, with the camera side is that, when they built their Blackmagic Pocket Cinema cameras, from the 4K and newer, so 4K, 6K, 6K Pro, and now the 6K full frame. Right.
And we use the 6K Pro, right?
And the 6K, yeah. So we have 6K and 6K Pro. That's my daily driver. That's my 6K Pro is my A camera, and the B camera is the 6K for shoots. But they had put a gyro sensor. So one of the things that tells, you know, a device like where it's at in space and stuff like that. They had put one of those in there. They didn't really tell anybody about it. And then, you know, one day they came up with this like, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to add gyro stabilization in DaVinci Resolve with your camera. And people are like,
to
what?
Your existing camera, right?
Yeah,
It was already there. It wasn't activated. They didn't have the software yet to have that activated. And then with what you already purchased, they added this amazing feature.
So that, yeah, they had put it in there from the 4K cameras on, and with the hopes that someday they would have, the time to get around to, updating the software where they could do that. And that's what they did. So the next update in DaVinci Resolve allowed gyro, and for the camera, allowed gyro stabilization as an option for stabilizing. And they didn't charge a penny for that.
That's incredible.
I can think of, another brand that starts with SN or SONY that would charge you $100.
It's a different camera or a whole new camera.
Like I remember when my Panasonic GH5, when they offered Vlog, I think it was like 75 or $100 to turn that on, and they had to send you to activate it.
Yep.
Because the camera could do it, and they wouldn't even let you download a thing. They would send you an SD card in the mail.
Right.
in snail
and
mail.
we get it. Like it's dog eat dog world, and they're gonna make business. But there's just something like that. It just feels good when you're working with equipment from a company that's just like not smarmy, not fallen into that total, like, we get it. You're going to do upgrades. You're going to have, they've already released, I think, another camera. And I don't know, that's pretty rad.
Yeah. It's like what
a little unheard of in this
things
world.
they can do to make, it better for up and coming filmmakers, that's not going to break your bank. So yeah. Which takes us to the workflow.
Right. Like you'll hear us talk about this a lot, is like the ecosystem of anything we work with. Like, anytime we're talking about what we choose and why, I feel like this is a common theme for you, is like, how compatible is it? Does it make sense? Does the flow and this whole, ecosystem work together and make sense? And so, with DaVinci Resolve, everything is just included, and they I think gives DaVinci Resolve Studio, like it is included with your purchase of any camera, or sometimes there. So talk a little bit about like that workflow, that ecosystem that's happening.
Yeah, no, so, again, back to number one reason, why I use Blackmagic Design in the company is that for the workflow, the ecosystem, DaVinci Resolve, right? And it's an amazing piece of software. Originally started out as just the color grading, and then they bought, I think, a couple other things. And now you have a full editing suite, basically, in their non-linear editor. And then, Fairlight is their audio editor. And then you have their version of After Effects in there.
Right. And was Blackmagic why you switched to DaVinci Resolve? You were with like Final Cut Pro before that, right?
Well, I knew I needed to upgrade the work. There was so much more that DaVinci Resolve could do.
Right.
Because a lot of times I was going out of Final Cut. So in background, I edited in Final Cut for 11 years, 12 years.
And we'll have a whole nother episode on like a deep dive into like the Adobe Premiere and, Final Cut Pro and DaVinci. But I was just curious, like if Blackmagic was the reason that one of the impetus.
I mean, like most people to color grade will go into DaVinci Resolve and then go back into like Adobe Premiere or Final Cut.
So instead of having to use two, you're...
Well, and like every time I went into DaVinci Resolve, because I was using the free version, which again, the free version is insanely powerful. Like it has, I don't know, I would say 95% of the capability turned on in the free version that you can use. Angie has actually been learning the free version. Yeah. And I'm always amazed at like, she has access to all these professional tools that...
Yeah. And I'm not even like touching what it's capable of yet at this time. I'm just like learning the super basics, but it's pretty, it's good flow. But we'll talk about DaVinci a lot more. Obviously we enjoy that, but that's, I mean,
it kind of, reminds me a little bit of like, for example, Epic Games, the same way that, the Blackmagic Design is supporting the filmmaker. Epic Games, which makes Unreal Engine, you can get Unreal Engine for free and play around and make backgrounds and all kinds of stuff for free. And I think they don't start charging you until your company hits like something like 2 million in revenue or something crazy like that. So it's like, again, it's like helping, giving people professional tools to learn on, so that if you have the drive and have the the gumption to
learn it.
Yeah, because there's information out there on YouTube everywhere of like how to use all this stuff. And then it's just a matter of like doing it, messing up, doing it, and then, getting work. You eventually start getting work. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, when you're looking at a camera, as a cinematographer, a filmmaker, videographer, whatever you refer to yourself as, like, obviously quality is of the utmost in your mind, right? And so, you're looking for the best image quality and probably considering that price point. And this this really is like the Blackmagic is, cinema quality in pocket form, right? You want to talk a little bit about like why you chose that for the quality that you're putting out there?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's the image, right?
Right.
It's like, because the image is what's going to, again, with your storytelling, is it going to enhance your storytelling, and is it a good tool for what you're trying to do? Right. And I had shot, before I switched to Blackmagic cameras, I had shot on Panasonic GH5. Right. And over the years, I've tried other cameras. Like, I've had the chance to shoot on Reds and a Sony FX, what was it, FX6? Or I don't remember. One of the Sony cinema cameras. And it's just like, so I had the chance to look at those, but the quality that you get, again, at the price point is just like, is bonkers, and so along with that is their B-roll. So B-roll is their raw version of their file. So you have like I think was it Red has its own version, RE has its own version. But basically it gives you, if you don't know what raw is, it gives you all the information on the sensor in one file, and the information's there so that when you're editing in post, you have full control over all of those aspects. So let's say you shot something at ISO 400, and again, it's the control over what's in the camera, not what the lens. So you can't change what your aperture was, but change what your settings were in the camera. So let's say you shot something at 5600K Kelvin for your white balance and like a 400 ISO. And let's say it came out a little darker than you want, and you're like, oh man, I wish I would have bumped that up to 800 ISO. You can do that with a raw file. It gives you a lot more information from the sensor when you go to do your color grade, of what's there. So it's a really incredible codec. And it's not, some of those are like, the raw codecs are like huge, ginormous files, and you can do that, but within raw, you have different, quality settings on the Blackmagic cameras that you can do, so you can actually get a pretty efficient codec with all the raw information in there, which is just so nice to work with.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing for quality too is the build factor. So a lot of people make fun of the Blackmagic Pocket. I wouldn't say they make fun of it. They complain that it's not a cube, right? Because a lot of people, for production, they'll want like a cube camera where the brain, and then they want to put add-ons like the screen and stuff around it, and the battery mount, and maybe like a Teradek or something, for remote viewing and all that kind of stuff, which is great. But the appeal, at least to me, of the Pocket Cinema camera is its form factor, right? It looks like a DSLR, and I actually love that about the camera, because I've been in situations where, if you're shooting stealth, kind of run a gun, and you don't want to attract attention that you have a camera, you can literally hold it up to your eye like you're taking a picture, but you're shooting, 6K B-raw, B-raw footage, and whatever situation you're in, which is really nice if you're doing like documentary kind of stuff, or you just don't want to attract attention to yourself where you have this big built out rig. And that's what I love about it. Like, or if it's like, there's a shot, like run a gun, and again, like I shoot a lot of stuff on motorcycles, and so I'll have it in a tank bag, and like something comes up, like I don't have time to put like kit out the camera and put it all together. It's like, I want to grab it out there, flip and turn it on, and within a few seconds be ready to go. And with the Pocket Cinema cameras, you can do that because they have a battery, memory card, and display screen that can flip and tilt around or whatever. And I love that about the cameras. Like to me, that is a huge value add for the style. Again, it's the right tool for the kind of work that I do, and you want to find the right tool for the kind of work that you're doing. Yeah. And the thing is too, is you can put all that stuff on. Like if you want to put hard drives and batteries and, Teradek and all that kind of stuff, you can kit it out and do that. I've seen people do that. It's not that it's
not an option. It's just, you can do it on its own, but you can always kit out more. Yeah, for sure.
Totally.
Yeah. So like what you get for this price point is pretty insane, right? Like can you talk a little bit about the price point and like the value? Cause that's going to be a huge factor in any time we are deciding to buy a piece of equipment, right?
Yeah. I mean, so like, you look at the comparable, like the Red, they have their 6K camera out now, but I think that one starts at around, was it 10 grand, I think?
Yeah.
And, if you look at like RE cameras, then you're looking at, over 50 grand, like the mini, the mini LF, I think is starts at like, I don't know, was it 75? Right. something like that. I mean, it's a significant investment. And again, those are great cameras. They're amazing cameras, and they do amazing things. But again, it's finding like, those are designed for, high volume production environments where, they're getting banged around all day, every day. And that's what they're designed for. Again, for the kind of work that we're doing, which is, we do a little bit of studio stuff, but mostly like on location, out and about, all kinds of conditions. And it's a great, the camera for Blackmagic 6K Pro, I think right now is like what, $29.95, somewhere around there, 27.
We'll link it in the bio, because I want to say it's now a little bit more than that.
Yeah, I paid like 28. I think I paid $28.50 for my.
Yeah, but that was Pro. How long ago? So we'll link it, because we don't want to misquote. But but again, reasonable.
Yeah, and the thing you have to consider with those other cameras, like a Red, or even like an Ari, is that price, $10,000 for the Red, the 6K version, is like, that's just the brain. So that's not the screen.
You have to kit that out. You
can't
exactly. Just run a gun like that.
I mean, I forget what, even the handle alone, I forget what they charge for the handle. You put the Red on anything and it gets exponentially more expensive. Absolutely. So but again, with the Blackmagic, I mean, that $29.95 is that's you can pick the camera up, throw the battery in, throw an SD card in, and you're ready to throw a lens on there, and you're good to go. Like there's nothing else that you have to do, and you get a DaVinci Resolve studio license. Yes. That's I think it's $300 value. They throw that in, so I think it's up to 2 or 3 computers that you get on that license as well. Yeah.
Great value add.
Yep. And I've never paid for DaVinci Resolve, because it's always come with cameras, compared to
others. We'll talk about that in another episode.
Don't get me started on Adobe. I'm on a quest to de-Adobify my life.
De-Adobify. That's a nice verb there. Okay, so maybe, I don't know what your situation is as a viewer or listener, but we're a husband-wife team, and that creates certain dynamics, when we're running a business, and like when Nate is needing an upgrade or a piece of equipment, and we have to have a lot of conversation around that. So maybe you're solo and you get the luxury of like, am I going to do it? Am I not? But regardless of your situation, like obviously from the business side of things, if you're using this camera or any camera for your livelihood to help run a business, like you need to consider the price point and when it's worth going into that or not. And so, a lot of times we have to make sacrificial decisions of like, okay, we want to upgrade the drone this year, and so the camera's going to have to wait, or vice versa. And so a lot of times, what we're weighing in that is like, for the clients that we're seeing, and maybe this is true for you, like, is this going to improve our deliverables? Is this going to create more openings for us? And, it's interesting because some people will say like, you're only as good as your tool, right? Like the tool that you have, or you need the right tool for the right job. But, when it comes to cinematography, like there is an artistry there, and like you're able, like this Blackmagic camera allows you to do so much and is so powerful and is such a beast. And at that price point, like I wouldn't have been able, like we would not have been able to swing a much higher production value. And we also kind of examine ourselves sometimes of like, are we comparing ourselves to other, videographers? That are maybe caught up in the posturing game? Like they sometimes are selling to their clients, like, I need to show up with this incredibly expensive, amazing camera, because that imagery is what the client is buying, versus really quality video. And they, they just want to see it done. And, by no means is it going to look cheap or sacrificed at all. And that is the beauty of the Blackmagic camera. Like if you're weighing against like, do I really invest in this bigger, price tag, or will Blackmagic cover it for me? And like, do you think like if you put it up against someone, a cinematographer or a videographer that had the Red, or had, how does it compare as far as like for that price point? Like,
well, I mean, again, for the price point, it's like, if you're a filmmaker and you're a smaller studio, it's like you want to make smart purchasing decisions, right? You don't want to put yourself into, 70 grand of debt and have this amazing camera, but the work isn't covering it. I mean, if you have the work to cover it and that your
go for it.
Workflow demands, that kind of tool, then great, go for it. But, for our setup and how we do production for our company in the Pacific Northwest, and when we travel, it's like, it's the right tool for the job. And, it leaves, a lot of money on the table for either upgrading lenses or, for other investing in other areas like data workflow, data management. Oh man, we got to do an episode about that because hard drives get expensive very quickly.
Storage. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and one thing to remember is that you don't have to buy these cameras to try them, right? You can always rent. So I'm shameless plug here, borrowlenses.com. Like, we have no affiliation or anything with them, but I've used them in the past. I've been really happy with their customer support and their service. So I'd recommend going on there, finding the camera you want, and
spend a couple days with it. Right?
Yeah. I mean, it's worth before you drop a couple grand on a camera, to spend, 100 or a couple hundred for, to have that camera in your hands, because what you can learn, having that camera in your hands for a day is invaluable. It will tell you pretty quickly whether that, is the right tool for you and for your setup, So that's what we'd recommend, if you're looking at a camera. It's like, give
it a trial run. Yeah, absolutely worth it.
Yeah,
totally.
Exactly. Yeah. And the other thing too is to remember that, there may be some frustration if you're changing workflows from one camera to another. Because, for me, when I first got the 6K, like I said, I was going from the GH5 to the 6K, the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K. And it was, I felt like the weakest link in that process, because it was it's an amazing tool, like the camera and what it can do.
Well, in a workflow change, like in anything it's to be expected that might, have some learning curve and whatnot. What did you find was supportive or helpful for you as you were navigating that change? Like, did you use certain tools, or was it just getting into the manual? Like, was there a support forum that you went to or anything?
I think just watching tutorials and then going and trying it, going out to different environments and saying, oh, okay, this camera can do that. Wow. Okay. And I feel like I'm constantly surprised by the image, like delighted, I should say, not surprised, delighted by the image that I would get out of the camera. Yeah.
That's awesome. And that's what you want. You want, whenever you are out shooting, you want to be delighted and really excited about what it is that you've captured, because your clients are also going to feel that when they see it. And that's what storytelling is all about, is moving people and letting them feel that. So, we're super glad that you guys joined us today listening, whether you're just listening on, your favorite app, or if you're watching us at youtube.com/@SLAB Visuals. And we hope that you'll join us again for our next podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. And just as always, if you have any comments or questions, or
love your feedback,
want to send us a picture of your Blackmagic camera setup
or your latest gig? You
can reach us at podcast@slabvisuals.com.
That's right.
That's the email for the podcast.
Love to hear from you.
Yeah, I think that wraps us up. So we'll see you on the next episode.